Please stand for the three refuges in English. All right, so you're all unmuted. I go for refuge to the Buddha.
I go for refuge to the Buddha.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all
beings.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment.
And realize the great way.
And realize the great way.
I go for refuge to the Dharma.
I go for refuge to the Dharma.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all
beings.
I will penetrate the teachings.
I will penetrate the teachings
And uncover oceans of wisdom.
and uncover oceans of wisdom.
I go for refuge to the Sangha.
I go for refuge to the Sangha.
And resolve with all beings.
And
resolve with all beings.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many.
And transform this world into Buddha land unimpeded.
And transform this world into Buddha land unimpeded.
Completely invisible. All right, so I'm going to mute everybody again, and I'll chant the heart sutra. Please chant along with me. It's on page 13 of the fancy chant book. It's also on PDF, the online PDF. Please chant along, and then we'll have our check-in. So. Namaha Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra the Bodhisattva of great compassion from the deep practice of prajna paramita, perceive the emptiness of all five skandhas, and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Sariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. Oh, Sariputra, all dhammas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance, no old age or death, nor extinction of them, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna paramita. Therefore her mind is free of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all perverted views she reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know that the prajna paramita is the great Dharani, the radiant peerless mantra, the utmost supreme mantra, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna paramita. Kate, kate, para kate, para samgate, Bodhisvaha. Kate, kate, para kate, para samgate, Bodhisvaha. Kate, kate, para kate, para samgate, Bodhisvaha. Dhammaha prajna paramita Hridaya Sutra. Unmuted. Supposed to be so yeah, so let's just go around and just check in and how we're doing this morning, and if there's anything in the Heart Sutra that kind of rang a bell, other than the fact that I wasn't ringing a bell and I actually really felt I should be ringing a bell between the verses. I think that's how we used to do it. Kosa, how are you this morning? Besides clean shaven.
Say it again.
You're clean shaven.
Yes, it was amazing how the beard got in the way of the mask.
Ah,
Mhm.
oh my.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, I put on the mask and these tufts would stick out of it,
Mhm.
and it is marginally less uncomfortable without it.
Mhm.
So I'm doing okay. Having Natalie, your hand right next to the camera looked really strange.
okay.
Feeling pretty productive and spending a lot of time being productive, but that's okay.
That's good. Great. Let's see, I see Nadeji is with us again. Good morning, Nadeji.
Good morning from Pueblo, Colorado.
Yeah.
So good seeing my Chicago Sangha brothers and sisters. I'm good. I'm good. I have finished all my grading. Put that away. And so I'm writing. I'm writing a lot. I'm working on I'm just writing on a book. So that's kind of pulled me in, and that's been good. And other than that, I've been sleeping a lot.
Lovely. Yeah. Okay. You see, Sam has decided to be the Buddhist cat this morning. So,
Aw.
Richard, how are you?
I'm doing very well. I am writing too. I've been cooking a lot. I agree with Kosa that the beard gets in the way of the mask, makes things difficult at times, but I'm trying to stick through it. My cats too have been very involved in my practice lately, and I consider them teachers in a way, because they'll do things like tap me on the shoulder when I'm sitting. So they're helpful at forcing me to return to breathing or whatever we're doing. Good to see you all.
Sanbon, good morning.
Good morning. I'm doing well. The practices with Oche and Sabaha have been extremely helpful during this time. I have a relative who's currently in the hospital battling coronavirus. So he's in ICU. And so that's been very emotional and has kind of brought it home what so many people are struggling with. And the part that kind of hit me in the chanting this morning was radiant peerless mantra, the utmost supreme mantra, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. So I guess what kind of hit me with that is for those of us who are able to grasp the Heart Sutra, or even a small percentage of the Heart Sutra, I think it's possible to allay some pain, and I'm trying to share that with other people, or teach that to other people, or somehow transmit that to other people. The allaying of pain is the part that I hope I can learn someday, or if it's possible to do that, I guess kind of share that with non-Buddhist practitioners, if that makes sense. So that's all. Thank you.
Beautiful, thank you. Jogam, good morning.
Good morning. was away, I think the last 1 or 2 sessions, and I felt that, and it's good to be back, hanging in there, challenging our concern is most with our child right now. He's hanging in there, but it's not easy. And one of the things that struck me in the sutra today was in dealing with all of the frustrations that all of us have with the current reality or current situation is seeing all of the people not taking care of each other by making decisions that are potentially very dangerous to each other. And it's very easy to get very judgmental and very negative. And one of the things that struck me in this was, where it says all Buddhas, past, present, and future. And that we're all Buddhas in the present. May not always feel like it, may not always look like it, but it's something that we always have to remember, because if we go back to the 5th line where it says, here, Shariputra, here, right now, that we're confronted with it in every moment. And it doesn't mean it's easy. It means it's really hard. And so just remaining mindful in the sense that we mean as Buddhists of that Buddha that we all are. And it ain't easy, that's for sure. But it still needs to be done. And that's where the work comes in. So glad to be back, and hope everyone has a wonderful Sunday.
Thank you. Yeah. Sunita.
Yo.
Great.
I'm wearing a mask that everything's fine. And I can tell deep down I'm just quaking in fear. And I got to deal with that. Great to meditate with you guys.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Yeah, I moved to Ann Arbor, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for coming back to us. Yeah. Huh?
It starts at 10?
10:30.
10:30, got it.
So that people can go to Ann Arbor and then come over here if they want lots of Sunday morning Dharma. Yeah. Absolutely. Good to see you. Moja.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I've also been gone the past few weeks. We've had a lot of birthdays. My oldest turned 5 on Friday, so it was fun to have something to celebrate, and just to hear from a lot of family was really nice as well. Just wishing him happy birthday, and kind of gave us an anchor to all connect to. So that was really nice. And we're kind of still in that celebratory mode. So again, a really welcome distraction from the current climate otherwise. But otherwise, yeah, I'm doing just fine. I'm happy to be back with everyone today.
Good to see you. Natalie.
Me?
Yep, Natalie. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we're doing well. We go on our walks. We're going to have a new hobby of cleaning trash away from the sewer drains, because it's a lot of water lately. So this is going to lead to a little consumerism. We haven't bought much. We're going to get actually special trash pickers. it was very moving. Listened to Haju's, the Ann Arbor service. That was so moving when Haju Sunam led the prayer for people who have died or are in suffering now. So I'm not particularly personally affected, but it was good to remember and hold all those people like that. And I don't have any grasp of the Heart Sutra whatsoever, but I still, chanting it into my own tune daily. And somehow it became strangely comforting. There was like not this, no this, no that, no, not this, no, not that. It's like, okay, you can just kind of follow the path and do your best, but it's like there's no grades given. It's not, like you don't have to get to somewhere and get a grade for getting there. So that's what I'm getting out of the Heart Sutra.
Yeah.
And that's
I was
it.
gonna say you're not grasping sounds actually pretty good from where I'm sitting. So, Samsu,
Hi, good morning.
the artist in his studio. Yeah.
I'm off balance because right as I was about to log on, I had a painting disaster with paint kind of everywhere. So I'll clean that up later. I think that I always come back to away from all perverted views, he reaches final nirvana. I'm always trying to return to how am I distorting what I perceive through my ego. I guess in the last week or so, I've moved into a new phase. I'm trying to pay attention to how we collectively and through the media and through what I hear from friends, how we are moving through this process week by week. And each week seems to have a different kind of theme. And I connect it to being in retreat. There's distinct moods for every day. I'm not quite sure if I connect to this last week. I can't name it. But it feels very different for me. I've moved into a space of a lot of avoidance, right? There are things to be done, things I can do. And I've kind of moved into a space of a lot of emptiness. Like, it's not apathy, it's something different. But it's very hard to find things being important or immediate. And my day-to-day life is very simplified, and that's all right. And so I'm kind of enjoying not complicating it. But there's avoidance in that. There's avoidance. So I'm liking the flowers and the return of green.
Gata.
Well, there are times when I enjoy having the time just to hang out with no aura and, do things I might not get done otherwise. And I oscillate from that over to the other pole, which is, okay, I feel like I'm a prisoner under a long prison sentence, but I've been a good prisoner, so why don't you let me out on parole, But that isn't the main thing on my mind these days. A really good friend of mine who has struggled with cancer for several years was recently diagnosed as having tumors again, is going in for surgery again on Tuesday. And it's a surgery similar to what he said before. He was just fine before, but there are no guarantees. And so that's on my mind a lot. And that's what I
Oh, Sushin Bob.
Good morning. I'm doing pretty well. You know, I am finding in this period being grateful for things that I didn't have as much gratitude for. Things like steady job. I don't know. There are just more birds out, or I've noticed more birds and bunnies around.
Oh my God, the bunnies, yeah.
So that's kind of. And as far as something from the heart, was the line, without hindrance, there is no fear. And I think maybe I've been operating thinking the fear comes first and that's the hindrance rather than take care of the hindrance. That too. But, you know, another way to look at it then is without hindrance here, maybe if you take care of the hindrance, then the fear will take care of itself. Something I've been memorizing is the 10 guidelines along the path, and one of them is don't hope for a lack of impediments in your study. Release is hiding right behind it. So what's a hindrance anyway?
No hindrance.
Exactly. Oche, morning.
Hello, everyone. Things are pretty good at the temple. Yeah, I feel guilty, but you know, I think this kind of life suits me, and I don't ever want to go back. And you know, I've been having some long-standing problems with my stomach that I'm finally getting addressed now. So I'm hoping that will be positive. And I have Samuel here, and he brings a lot of energy into the temple. So it's very exciting to have him here. And as for the Heart Sutra, I really sort of mostly noticed the rain today. So.
Yeah. And the rain and no rain, right? You know, it was just, yeah, I was playing around with what would happen if I just kind of felt the sound of it and didn't think that's rain, right? Which I think we're invited to do. But yeah, and I'm pretty good. We're all good. Sam is enjoying our discussion this morning. And I've been thinking a lot about spaciousness, because I just think, you know, we were talking before about how the pandemic is different for everybody, and there's just so much stuff right now, and there's so much suffering, and there's so much anxiety, and there's so much fear, and there's so much anger. And I think what the Heart Sutra does for me, and I've gone back to the Flower Ornament Sutra, which, like I said, is like opening it, and it's like those books in kids' movies where stuff just comes out of it, like fireworks and streamers and jewels and colors. And it's like opening, you sort of crack it open, and it's like, oh my gosh, like there's 10,000 million bajillion Buddhas. And so to really, and part of it is almost even a commentary on the Heart Sutra. It's gigantic, and I think just the big thing that I'm working with right now is spaciousness, and trying to think about practice in terms of making space, right? To take other decisions. It's the big difference, I think, between my life pre-quarantine or confinement and after, is there wasn't a lot of space in my life before. I was always running from one thing to the other, and sort of just to work with the breath and feel that space between breaths, like Haju says, and to just make space for all of it. That I think if religion or Buddhism in particular is good for anything, it's good for just creating that space that's so far beyond anything that we can measure. And that there's, I think, especially for those of us who used to suffer from anxiety, the idea that there's room for everything, absolutely everything, is really a change, and very comforting, and just the space to just let things be what they are. So that's where I am. And up there in the corner of my Zoom screen is Noju in Cusco, Peru, who's going to actually So if you want to check in and then tell us, I've been hard at work on the Heart Sutra all week. And thank you for doing that. So yeah, I turn it over to you.
It was really fun. It was really interesting, actually. Check-in wise, yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm well. In a couple days, I'm about to turn 40, and I'm gonna have my birthday in quarantine alone in Peru. So that's been really interesting. Yeah, and that's been bringing up a lot. But yeah. Yeah, should I just go into it, what I found in the Heart Sutra?
Yep.
Okay, great. So
yes, I forgot it was.
So the part that you asked me to focus on was about fear. And so the verse is, without his mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, he reaches final nirvana. So I was researching that part, and what I found, Red Pine, he translates the no hindrance in the mind to without walls of the mind. And another one I found, another translation was because there is no obstruction. And Thich Nhat Hanh said, because there are no obstacles in the mind, you can overcome all fear and destroy all wrong perceptions. So it's interesting. Hindrance was also translated as without walls, without obstruction, without obstacles. And so when you have no obstacles, not obstructions, discarding all obstructions to action, and not being obstructed by body and mind means to be free of worry and fear. And so that was really interesting to me, that last part of it too, away from perverted views. So I looked that up, like what are perverted views actually? And so one article I found online said there are four main perverted views. So one is a view that anything existent can be permanent, even if it is compounded. And then number two was a view that satisfaction may be found in the world of compounded entities. And number three was a view that there is a permanent self or a permanent soul. And number four was a view that things are desirable and therefore worth striving for and clinging to. So they define these as the perverted views. And so in Thich Nhat Hanh is that this great abandonment, the abandonment of these perverted views, is the state of having abandoned all obstructions. And so when you can abandon these obstructions, that is the freedom from fear, essentially. I saw this really great commentary online, and I'd like to share it because I think it's really relevant for what we're experiencing now. It says, for a contemporary reader of the sutra, the words "no fears exist" may be the most significant insight contained in the sutra. Our century has been characterized by existential angst and its concomitant despair and hopelessness. Late 20th century culture finds itself driven by the basic fuel of fear, even when the individual is really yearning for love. Our conditioning has become such that we fear fear and we fear love. Any resolution of the individual human condition has to perforce deal with the basic fear of duality, fear of the other, fear of the world, which one finds to be hostile and threatening, and yet indispensable. Unless this dichotomy, this sense of separation from the world is resolved, all our efforts to find a meaning in human life are going to be nothing more than manipulative gestures. It is only in the pure experience of sunyata, or emptiness, that one transcends the manipulative gestures which societal conditioning, in its ignorance, sees not as illusions, but as substantive. The training of the bodhisattva is to see the illusory nature of these manipulative gestures and transcend them. Yeah, so I thought that was a really beautiful insight. And then there was another, so I saw this short snippet of this book online. It's called Heart Attack, which is a contemporary view of the Heart Sutra, and he called it the Heart Attack. And it says, overcoming fear is not to be accomplished by shutting down or building walls around oneself, but instead by opening up to understanding the illusory nature of everything we fear, even including ourselves. So those are some things I found. And then in the Google Drive that you sent me, Noara, there was the commentary from Thich Nhat Hanh, and there was a section of that I really wanted to share. So in this commentary, Thich Nhat Hanh calls this idea of non-duality to interbe.
Great.
So all of us are interbeing, or that's his word for interconnectedness. And so he said there's no separation. And so he said the idea of interbeing is that we cannot stand outside and observe anything. Instead, we have to actually penetrate. That's the idea of penetrating. We have to actually experience and be one with it. And so even penetration into the skandhas, into these mental formations. And then he talked about the symbol of a circle. And so circle, we can think of as zero or as nothingness, but also the circle as also symbolizing totality, wholeness. And so he said, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. It does not differ. And he gave this example of the wave is water and the water is the wave. Because one thing exists, everything exists. And I want to quote this, I think in a roundabout way it goes about to fear. I found it really beautiful. He said, the cloud in the sky will not be scared. When the time comes, the cloud will become rain. The cloud knows if it falls to the earth, it will become part of the ocean. So the cloud is not scared. Only humans are scared. And when he talked about that idea of emptiness, he said, Avalokita, deep in meditation, was able to see this nature of emptiness and overcame all fear and pain. Birth and death are like waves on the surface of the ocean. And so let us penetrate and become one with the cloud or one with the wave, realize our own nature as water and be free from our own fear. If we look very deeply, we will transcend birth and death. Yeah. And when I was reading this, it also made me think of the Dhammapada, right? Like the beginning of the Dhammapada, you know, everything that we are, it starts with our thoughts, right? He's saying like, with our thoughts, we make the world. And so in the Heart Sutra, it's saying like, yeah, and then not even thoughts, right? It's not even being attached to that thought in itself. And so, yeah, that's what I have so far. It's all that idea of our attachment to fear.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was
Yeah.
beautiful. Any comments? That was really gorgeous. Any comments or?
Thank you. Yeah.
I like just I like all of it, but the last part really stuck out. It's about our attachment to fear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, really focusing on that attachment.
Hmm.
What was the fourth perverted view?
A view
things
that
are
things
desirable.
are desirable and therefore they are worth striving for and clinging to.
And when you say things, it would be material things, not spiritual things.
All
I
things.
guess so, right? I guess it's open to the way that you interpret it, I guess.
I think that like pinpoints one of the deep paradoxes of Buddhism, which is that on the one hand, we're striving for those spiritual goals, and on the other hand, the act of striving means we are going the wrong direction. So we are both striving and not striving, and it's really hard to square that circle.
Yeah.
Or as Princess Leia said to Darth Vader, the harder you squeeze, the more that slips through your fingers.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
So that poses the question, is there a wrong way to strive for spirituality?
I don't think there's a wrong way. I think there are more fruitful ways and less fruitful ways.
Well, why would you have to strive for spirituality if you're already spiritual? If you're already, sorry?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say exactly. I'm going to read, this is like a slightly different commentary in the Heart Sutra from Thich Nhat Hanh that I was reading this morning, and it just seems really relevant, and it just really, of course, it amplifies what Noju was saying so well. It's called The Other Shore. And I just loved it because the last sentence cracked me up, but he does do the wave in the water, and the wave is water. And he said, so we don't have to go look for nirvana because nirvana is our true nature, the nature of no beginning and no end, no birth and no death. And like the wave, if we're able to touch our true nature, then we transcend all fear, all anger, all despair, because our suffering is born from these notions, birth and death, being and non-being, coming and going, same and different. Nirvana is not the object of our searching, and we do not need to enter nirvana because everything is in nirvana already.
But I think that doesn't succeed
Wait,
in
I
squaring
just
the
want to get,
circle.
yeah, I just want to get to the end, actually. He
Oh,
says,
I'm
our reality is the reality of no coming and no going. We are perfectly in nirvana. And I love this last sentence. We have been nirvanized from the non-beginning. So I just like, we've been nirvanized from the non-beginning is what stuck with me. So, but yeah, I mean, none of that is different than what Nojo was saying, but I just wanted to share the nirvanized from the non-beginning.
Which invites struggle. That invites the struggle. In other words, if we aren't perfectly perceptive that nirvana's at hand, then we strive for it. But that's a noble strife in my mind. And yeah, if we were so cool, we would just wake up and know all those things and feel them and not doubt ourselves and not have to practice for shit. But we do.
Yeah, and I don't think that saying that we're already in nirvana really squares the circle, because then it's a matter of striving or working to attain full realization of that.
I think that attaining full realization connects with something that I hear a lot in the Heart Sutra, which is consciousness. And I think that's interesting, but it's kind of raising or bringing to consciousness these notions, these understandings, these realizations, like Kosa said. So
I liked a lot what Noju said, that I'm not going to get it exactly right, but it was something like the world is very scary and threatening, and yet it's indispensable. And when I was thinking about the sutra this morning, one of the things I thought was funny is that it says all dharmas are empty, and then we take refuge in the dharma. It's really a paradox that's hard to understand. So I think that the kind of spaciousness that Noir is talking about, how do we hold both of those things
Mhm.
at once, and how do we practice in such a way that can hold both at once, is truly a challenge and very incomprehensible. But that seems to me to be where it is right now.
Yeah, I want to, so I was going to talk about that actually. The other fear, the fear of the world, which one finds to be hostile and threatening and yet indispensable. Like when I came across that, I really, because that's kind of, I think, what a lot of us had been talking about, our experience during this pandemic, right? It feels hostile, it feels threatening, and yet indispensable, right? And so how do we interact with the world like that? Like just yesterday, I went to buy some groceries, and the vendor had a spray of like alcohol and started disinfecting the money before she handed it to me. And she was like, "Oh, you got to be careful, you know, it can be passed on even through your money." And it made me so paranoid, right? I just had all of this well up when that happened. I was like, "Oh God!" Like even the like that never occurred to me. Like, wow, even the money, my keys, like everything. Like, how do I interact now? I'm scared of touching money. And so that idea, the world feels so threatening and hostile, and yet it's indispensable. And so that's it. Like that's that dichotomy, right? How do we engage? Yeah.
It seems to me like part of what's important that it might point out is like one kind of response is to just deny that the world is scary or to try to fly away. And, there's a call, I think, in what you said to not be so quick to do that, but to engage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually just commenting on one of the Dharma Guardian's journals, and I actually wrote, that practice, and it's not something that came from me, it was something that came from reading the journal, but that practice is about giving ourselves the tool to open up to what's happening, right? And not a filter, but a kind of, equipment to kind of just take in more and handle more and be able to be more open to the world rather than filtering it out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have to do it all ourselves. Like even just looking at all of your beautiful faces on Zoom, right? And thinking about the different places where we all are and what we're all going through individually. And I think we get in the trap of feeling like we have to be able to handle everything by ourselves, and to just sort of really, take refuge in the Sangha as well, and that we're all here for each other and the broader Sangha. And if somebody falls down, if somebody breaks down and needs to sleep all day, or if somebody's going through something really just awful and just can't get up off the mat, like that's fine, right? We don't all have to be like little Dharma superheroes. The part of this is just becoming aware of the net and relaxing into it, and just holding the practice and doing our best, and knowing that that the weight is distributed over everybody, not just all on one person.
And also,
what did you say, Sunita?
That's comforting. Thank you.
Oh.
For me too, it gives me permission to sleep.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, Oche's practicing for all of us, so we're all good.
Thank you, Oche.
Oche's the one getting up really early in the morning.
I really like this image of the cloud, and how the cloud doesn't have any fear, and how it changes and evolves and is always, its essence is still the same, even though it changes forms and it moves through this process. And it reminds me that, samadhi, pure presence, if you are purely present in the moment, then you don't have to carry fear. You don't have to carry or engage in perverted views.
Nice. Nice.
And then Sunam always tells us, right? Like, let me see if I'm getting his phrasing right, but samsara and nirvana are the same.
Yeah.
And so in this experience, if we are able to sit with presence with it, even when we're afraid of the money, right? Afraid of the jogger that's passing us and not wearing anything and exposing us to things. But if we're truly present, then we can take action. We can move away from that person that's not wearing the mask. We can be aware and conscious and at ease in those moments. But I think that Sunam said at the very beginning of this, something to the effect of that this is reminding us how connected we really are. And so we can move into that fear of and the danger of it, or we can return to the idea that this is reminding me that I am intrinsically connected to you and I have a responsibility to you as well as to myself. And how do we move together in a state of presence instead of a state of fear?
The interbeing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that we're only as healthy as the unhealthiest members of our community, and we're only as, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Right, exactly. America's not in great shape. Yeah. But you're also reminding me that this girl right here, who, we can maybe get a close up of how she's coping.
Wake up!
But her name is Sam, which originally meant samadhi, and then I got to know her and figured it could also be short for samsara. So nirvana and samsara are indeed the same. So yeah, any other thoughts? This was lovely. So Jokam, are you around next week?
I am.
Would you, because you mentioned the Buddhas of past, present, and future, would you like to be in charge of that verse for us next week?
I thought you'd never ask.
That would be really lovely, and I could give you access to the Google folder with some additional commentaries and things. But
No, that'd be great. Yeah, I've been going through Red Pine on my own, and it's just so enchanting.
Right.
But no, that would be wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, let's 4 great vows and then get on with whatever this life is. And it's just really great to see everybody. So
I'm gonna go clean all my money.
All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Blind passions, one root, I vow to terminate.
Dharma gates, one mind, I vow to penetrate.
The great way of Buddha, I vow to realize. Thank you all so very much. I'm thinking of all of you, and yeah, Sanbong. I just want to hug everybody, so there's no emoji for that. Exactly, right? Yeah. And let us know, any of us, me, Oj Sushim, or just email the temple if keep us posted and let us know if there's anything we can do. And feel more than free to join Oj and Sawaha 3 times a day, 6 a.m., 11:45 a.m., and 6:30 p.m. Because it really does. It's like stretching the elastic on your practice. The more you practice, it is true that even despite your best efforts, I think it does create more spaciousness. So feel free. And Sunita's sideways. So exactly. So it's lovely to see everybody. Have a wonderful Sunday, as good as
And,
thank you, Susan, for sending me the book.
Oh, you're welcome. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Oh,
Yeah.
And anyone who is taking or renewing precepts, or we will have our first meeting in 10 minutes. So I emailed everyone a link to that. It's also on Zoom. But if anyone wants to decide to join us now,
there you go.
last minute.
Yeah, and that's a different link. Is that the idea? So
It is a different link. I set up a different link. Same. I'm using the Zen Buddhist Temple account, but it's a different link.
Okay, great.
And if I go to Zoom and say join a meeting, it'll come up in the list of meetings.
If you've been there before.
Yeah, it's a new meeting, Kosa. So the link was in an email I sent, but I'll email it right now if you like.
I can. Well, okay. I'm having trouble with making that work, but I'll figure it out.
Okay.
Sorry, can I just ask, what were the times again for the 6 a.m., 11:45?
Yeah.
And-
Yeah, 6 a.m., 11:45 a.m., and 6:30 p.m.
6:30 p.m. Okay.
Yeah, and I can send you. I can make sure you have the right link because it's not the same as this link.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Noju. Happy birthday to you.
Oh,
Now, if we sing it again, we'll have washed our hands for 20 seconds.
Right, exactly. All right. Have a great
Thank you. Have a good day.
E of B, Sunita. Very nice.